Hey everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we're taking a look at the Yakima OnRamp LX bike rack and how it fits here on our 2024 Kia Carnival. This is actually going to be my first look at this bike rack, so we get to take a look at it together right off the bat. I definitely see this as useful for if you need to carry extra heavy bikes here with your Carnival. This does include a ramp that's attached to the rack, hence the name OnRamp. So for those heavier bikes, if you don't want to be lifting them up and onto the rack, this is gonna work out for you. This does have a maximum weight capacity of 80 pounds, which is awesome because electric bikes seem to be getting heavier and heavier. It also has this stadium seating style tray. So even though the hitch on the Carnival is kind of on the low side, you do have a decent rise to the rack that will help prevent bottoming out on those steeper inclines. Now, what I'm not as happy about though is that the tilt away function for this rack doesn't tilt away very far. It also requires two people in order to tilt away because of the location of the knobs. So I am not going to tilt this rack away, but I'm going to show you how you would do it. And if you're curious about the actual distance, check out the picture on the product page here. If you put your year, make, model, you'll see it pop up. So there's going to be two pins. One pin is holding it on the right side. You can pull that one out. The other pin requires you to pinch and then pull this. This is where the second person is needed. The first person will pull this pin, and the second person will support the rack from the end and then drop it down to a tilt. It would be very tricky to operate that pin from this side where you can be able to tilt things away, and that's why Yakima recommends having two people do that. Also, if you have your bikes loaded up and they're up to 80 pounds, that's a lot of weight to maneuver on your own. So again, check out that picture on our page if you want to see how far we were able to open the door before hitting the handlebars. It was about this high, just enough to grab some stuff real quick, but not enough for full clearance. So I wouldn't tilt it away on a Carnival anyways. Now back to the bike. We talked about weight capacity of 80 pounds. This can work with bikes of different wheelbases, different tire sizes. There is an adjustable tray here. If you maneuver the knob underneath, you can move the tray back and forth for those different wheelbases. I would have benefited from moving our tray a little bit further out for the size of the bike, but since these trays are offset, having all that adjustability is awesome because then you can custom fit what works best for you and your specific bikes. And the way this holds on to the bikes is we have two wheel chocks and straps. So you press this lever and then you lift that strap off. If you want to remove the bike, there's also a strap keeper here to the side, and that way when you get the ramp on, you don't have to run over your straps. These strap levers are actually locked in that or fixed in that position to help promote you having the best angle on your bike's tires. Now before I go and remove the frame mount, I'm going to set up the ramp. The ramp is attached to the bike rack by this knob. So we're going to remove that knob and then remove this ramp. The ramp then attaches to the end of the bike rack. I'll grab that later. So we're gonna clip this in. Find our preferred distance. And then clip it back in like that and secure it with the knob. So you can either use the knob that came to secure the bike rack, the ramp to the bike rack, or one of the knobs that was attached to the ramp. And now that the ramp is set up, we can then remove the bike. So same concept, there's a lever and a strap, although this time the lever is attached to our frame mount. This comes kind of close to our Kia Carnival. I have pretty long handlebars though, so I'm not as concerned for road bikes. But if you have longer bars, just be careful that they don't come up against your window as you ramp your bike up and off. For example, I need to maneuver my pedals around that master tab. There we go. And then now I can bring the whole bike down. It's a good shallow angle, and this wasn't too tricky. All right, leaving our bike off to the side, we can focus in on the bike rack. Now, we will have a full review here at eTrailer that you can check out if you're curious about all those features. The main thing here we're gonna focus in on with the Kia Carnival is that usually you don't need bike racks that have a ramp because your hitch sits so low to the ground. But I understand those bikes can get heavy. So if you do need a rack that can fit a lot of types of bikes and has a lot of versatility, then I can see why you might be interested in this one. Now there's a lot of just extra touch points and movements that I'm not the biggest fan of. I wish this was easier to operate and didn't have as many levers and bolts and nuts and things like that. But once you fine-tuned your process for your specific bike, then this whole thing will go along much quicker. I'm gonna take some measurements real quick so that we could talk about how this fits on your car. The length this will add is gonna be from the bumper to the end of the car, 28 inches, which makes this very compact and helpful if you have a small garage and you need to park into a tight spot. The height this sits at is 16.5 inches off the ground at the end, and compare that to where the hitch sits off the ground, and that is 9.5 inches. So it has a really aggressive rise, which is a really good thing for our specific vehicle here. This also has the ability to fold down. So the first thing I need to do is I need to maneuver our mast into the down position, and then I can pull that pin and that pinch pin here too. You can see that in action. That gets pulled but stays in place, and then I can fold the whole system up against the car. We're gonna lock this in place right here. Put the straps in. And that should be a much better experience there. It automatically locks into place in the folded position, but don't forget to put the pin back in before you drive off and away. Some measurements again. We're gonna go from the bumper to the end of the rack, 9.5 inches. So big difference compared to before. This looks like it comes close, but the closest point is gonna be the frame masts when they're folded, and that's gonna be 2 inches away. You cannot open up your door with it folded up like this just because it gets a little too close. But if you're concerned about just parking into a really tight spot, this will save a lot of space when your bikes aren't on there. Also, I think it looks pretty okay behind our Kia Carnival. This has a sleek, although slightly bulky look to it. It doesn't cover anything. We have full visibility of our license plate, our taillights, and obviously our rear window. Our backup camera also is unobstructed. This fits into the 2-inch hitch receiver, and it tightens down with an anti-rattle bolt for a very solid feel. Now, all those things work together to give the OnRamp LX its heavy duty weight capacity for those heavy duty bikes. I wish it tilted away further in order to get access to our hatch, but something that might help out with that is a swing away hitch extender. Yakima has one available for their products that might be helpful if you have enough hitch tongue weight capacity to handle heavy bikes plus a swing away extender. If you don't need to tilt away and you need something that's strong and durable for those heavy bikes and you like the included ramp, this could still be a solid option for you. I'm glad we were able to look at it together on this car. This was a look at the Yakima OnRamp LX2 bike rack for electric bikes here on the 2024 Kia Carnival.